I don't know where all of you are in your thinking about this business of covenant of works and covenant of grace. We emphasize, of course, this matter heavily in the Pentateuch class and all along the line, and I hope that you are clear on the subject that the world around you is not. And what I'm taking for granted here is, of course, highly disputed on all sides, and I've spoken about the unhappy results of trying to blend what the Bible sets forth as a contrast between a works arrangement and a grace arrangement. The result of flattening out all of the covenants into something which is really neither works nor grace results in a corruption and confusion of the whole doctrine of justification by faith alone. And so, you know the whole line of thought then that I've tried to pursue elsewhere, and that this is not a dead issue, least of all in our own circles, becomes evident in the recent publication by Norman Shepherd, former professor of systematics in Philadelphia, whose positions are still advocated by the professor of systematics in Philadelphia, are endorsed. Norman Shepherd now comes out with his book, Call of Grace, in which he expresses rather clearly that the confusion and so on with respect to the doctrine of justification that many of us for decades now have been concerned about and have been trying to raise warning cries over, and with no one paying any particular attention, so that people get very excited if they don't have their view of the days of creation. But they are not at all excited if we have heretics within the church who are completely confused on the doctrine of justification by faith alone. And we have those who on our email networks here OPC ministers are denying that the work of Christ has any merit. That's the logical conclusion of the position I'm opposing. And so we have that being advocated, and there's no one is bringing up cases in Presbytery over the presence of this kind of heresy. And Shepherd, in his new book, takes Genesis 15:6, which of course Paul takes as illustrative of the experience of the sinner who is justified by faith alone, that Abraham believed in God and it was reckoned unto him as righteousness. And Shepherd takes that and puts in Jesus as the subject of that rather than Abraham, and says Jesus believed in God and it was reckoned unto him as righteousness. Can you imagine that? And that shows the total confusion that's going on. And so what would be true of in the experience of Jesus, the role that his obedience played in his vindication before God, that is attributed, then the same formula is used for Abraham. That would mean that, of course, that in the case of Abraham, it was something in the nature of his obedience that led to his justification. You couldn't have a more stunning confusion of the whole truth of the Pauline gospel recovered in the Reformation, and it's expressed here by Shepherd in this recent publication, which on the back jacket bears the endorsement of Professor Gaffin, the present professor of systematics in Philadelphia. So these are live things, and if you go out and you are influenced by that, and you are repeating this, so you're going to do all kinds of damage to the church. Better that you go and become a carpenter or do something else than preach that nonsense. And